What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to show you the exact system A through Z that Ethan and I use to scale from literally zero online all the way to 80K per month as online fitness coaches. Now, before we go through the entire system, I want to give you guys some context about who this is for and what you could kind of expect. So first, this is only for in-person trainers and gym owners, hybrid coaches, and fully online coaches who are looking to ultimately achieve more freedom. If you have a big ego, you're not willing to learn from anyone else who's done it already, and you think you could do it on your own, then respectfully, get off this page. And if you're not a fitness coach who is serious about scaling your business, then leave now. This is only for people who really want to win in the online space. Now, I'm about to show you the exact step-by-step system that our clients use. Clients like Noah, who did his first ever 10K month working with us, starting at near zero. Pharrell, who went from 7K a month to 20K, 21K a month. Chris, who went from 3K a month to 30K a month. Hagen, who went from 7K to 25K a month. And Roberto, who just recently did a $6,500 day. Absolutely insane. Now, for Ethan and I, it was not always like this. We weren't always helping people making money online. We weren't always making money ourselves online. We actually started off as in-person trainers, probably like a lot of you guys watching this video. Either were in person or still are in person. I worked at Crunch as a personal trainer. I was working 60 plus hours a week. I probably had 40 plus client hours. And you could see that in one pay period, I was doing just $2,500. So I was making anywhere from $5,000 to $7,000 if I was lucky per month, grinding out with no time whatsoever, no freedom. I was always thinking bigger and ahead, but I thought that this was going to be the rest of my life. And you could see my schedule here, absolutely how packed it is for someone like me who wants to travel the world. That was not feasible whatsoever. And Ethan, who you could see if I zoom in here, in his pay period, he made, $1,400 net pay, and he worked 112 hours to make that much money. Absolutely insane, right? And a lot of you guys are probably resonating with this right now, right? Ethan worked front desk at a gym. He always had the dream of going online, and I worked in person, and I always thought that, it should be better than that. So ultimately, we made the transition to try and start online, and it didn't work so well. A lot of you guys have probably already tried to do something online, posting random content, whatever it is, and you're not exactly sure why it's not working out. And that is normal. If things worked for you in the beginning, that would make no sense, right? Especially, flying blind and trying to do it on your own. So we tried to do it on our own, and for my personal anecdote, nothing worked. For like 6 months, I posted content straight. I actually listened to different mentors saying, post content nonstop, it's going to work. My content got really, really good, really fast. Nothing happened. I remember in my car at night, this crappy car right here, by the way, sitting there on FaceTime crying to my girlfriend about how I don't understand what's going on. I've invested in different programs. What the heck, right? Anyways, I decided at that moment or very shortly after to invest in a program that was, $8,000. And I didn't really have that money. So I ended up, going into debt, right? I spent $2,000. So I had $500 left in my bank account. I was now $6,000 in debt, right? With the mentor himself and with the third party loan I took out. And I drove Uber, as you can see right here, to pay the cost of the program and the ads that the guy was asking me to run. Ethan had a similar situation. He had invested in so many different mentors, and to this day we have invested $110,000 and counting dollars into different mentors. We've gotten screwed over. We've had some good ones, so we understand. Now, ultimately though, we became very, very successful, around the same time. Right? I have my account here on the left, Ethan's on the right, and I scaled 8,000 in 1 month after a couple months to 81,000 per month. And Ethan did something very similar. He was doing consistently 10 to 15,000, and then he scaled around the same time to 81,000 a month, or right around 80,000, right? Maybe not the exact number. Now, this, online personal training created this lifestyle right here. And as you can see, I'm a little biased because I made this presentation. I have a lot more of me because I love to travel. So you see, I've traveled the world. Ethan was able to propose to his girlfriend. Ethan bought a Porsche. I went to Thailand. I went to Croatia. You know, when you're watching this video, I'm probably in another country right now. Now, guys, real quick, before I go over even the high-level overview, I want to make it clear that this exact system is the system that we are currently using. So unlike all the other like false gurus, business coaches, whatever, that are saying you have to post 1 million times a day, you have to do this, they have no skin in the game because they're not currently running an online fitness business. They're not doing it themselves. They probably weren't even in-person trainers. They just started one day teaching people how to make money online when they hadn't done it themselves. We're teaching you the strategies that we're literally using right now in our business that has allowed us to scale from 0 to 80,000 a month. Okay, that's the difference. So a high-level overview of this system is that essentially, like very basic, we are taking eyeballs, right? We are getting traffic. We are magnetizing that traffic. We are bringing them to our Instagram page. And then we are ultimately having conversations. Okay, I don't know what that sign is right there. But we're having conversations in the DMs to drive people to sales calls and ultimately close them. And it's very simple. There's really 5 pillars you have to understand as a complete beginner here going into the online space or not having much skin in the game. And it's 1, foundations. Then it's your offer, marketing, setting and sales, and then your back-end systems as well. It's pretty simple, and I'm going to go through the entire thing in a second. Now, the typical coaching system that we see people using online is endless content that they have to post, cold DMs, tons of followers are required. No time freedom, no location freedom. So basically you go online and you think, oh, I'm going to escape the grind, right? Which is much more than a 9 to 5 if you're an in-person trainer. And instead, you're working even more. And, ultimately inconsistent revenue too. So the grass doesn't seem greener on the other side. But the launch system, right? We focus on quality posts just 3, 4 times a week on average. Warm prospects are coming to you. You don't need that many followers. In fact, I only had like 4,000 followers when I scaled to 80,000 a month, just for the record. More free time, geographical freedom, and predictable revenue, right? We have curated the system in this precise way so that we could give ourselves that lifestyle through the trials and errors, through the 95 plus hour work weeks to understand how online business works. Now I'm going to zoom out here and let's go to where you are now. Right? You are probably doing $5,000 to $10,000 per month as an in-person trainer. Maybe you're hybrid. Maybe you are online now. You've probably had, you probably have 20 plus clients. Maybe you have 40 plus client hours, typically minimal online business experience if you're listening to this. So I'm going to kind of give a giant overview of every single part of the pillars that we talk about here, starting with foundations. Now, with foundations, the first thing you want to do is set up your training software. Typically, that's going to be Everfit, okay? And you're going to build your training program inside of that. You need your training program because, of course, you need to have a system set up where you could have clients come in. If someone was ready to pay you $5,000 today, you could start training them. Also, you're going to want to work on your check-in process, onboarding protocol to bring clients in and make that process go smooth. And then ultimately, you want that check-in process to allow you to handle 75 plus clients in just 2 to 3 hours a week. And that's something that Ethan and I literally have done. Now, also, PTL CRM, you get this for free for a month, okay? And here's the biggest thing. You need a CRM. It stands for Client Relations Management. And, typically that's just where your leads come in and your clients come in and you have all that data, but it's also a website builder. It's also where you're going to be able to do emails, automations, your calendar, booking page, all of these different things. Okay. It's not a prerequisite just of the clients that we have in our program. It's the prerequisite of having an online business. So guys, I'd recommend downloading this in the school group. Like if you haven't, you're completely missing out because it is free for a month with all our automations and pre-built pages on top of that, so you don't have to build it from scratch yourself. Now, also business basics, right? You have to get that going. So your payment processor. Typically, we use WAP because it has better financing. It allows you to maximize cash when, you're making a sale. Also, just setting up your LLC and a business checking account plus credit card. Having the right credit card is awesome because you could get more points back. And most of my travel, I'm literally traveling for free because of the money I'm spending in my business and the points I'm getting out. So during this period, right, like you have to think across these pillars, you're trying to fully transition to remote for at least most of you. So during this time, once you have your program built out and the business basics set up, you could upsell your ending in-person packages that would not like re-sign in person, or, that they're only contemplating it. You could put them online to use them as guinea pig clients and just kind of give them an offer that they cannot refuse. Right? Just start taking anyone and everyone for like a lower cost online to get the ball rolling, get some monthly recurring revenue, and have proof of concept and get great testimonials. Next, the next pillar is Godfather offer. Now, this is huge because your offer dictates everything in the rest of your funnel. It dictates your Instagram post, your long form videos, your stealth VSL, which we'll talk about, your sales, your appointment setting, your sales. It dictates everything. So you have to find out, like, first, who do you provide results for? Like job, age, gender, interest. If you're not talking to a specific person, then you're talking to nobody, right? If you try to get everyone to love you, no one loves you. And it's like a crowded room. If everyone's talking and I just hear whispers, right? Whizzes of voices, right? But then all out of nowhere, I hear Benji Tucker. I'm going to turn my head and say, oh, he was talking to me. In the same way, that's how we stand out in a saturated market. So you have to understand, what is this ideal client's current situation? How are they suffering externally? Are they 50 pounds overweight? And then internally, what keeps them up at night? Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle. What is the result provided? Is it, tangible fat loss or muscle gain? Like, are they trying to lose 50 pounds? Are they trying to build 20 pounds of muscle? And tangibly, why? Are they trying to do that so that they can walk their daughter down the aisle, so that they can stick around for their wife and take care of her? What is the reason? Now, who are their enemies? Meaning, what have they tried that has failed? And what do they hate doing to get the results? So maybe what they hate doing is, doing keto or low carb. Maybe what they've tried before is HIIT cardio, right? So you have to understand this. And then ultimately, what is your unique mechanism? Because your unique mechanism is what bridges the gap between where they're at and where they want to go. So what makes your system different from what they've tried? What makes it unique? What are the pillars of the mechanism itself? So think about pillars for a second. If I zoom out, here are a bunch of our pillars, the macro pillars in our system, right? We have the Godfather offer. We have our Instagram, a digital authority funnel. We have different systems in setting and sales, right? So what are the pillars for your system? And then how does it counter their enemies? Right? So like, if you guys tell me I hate, sending cold DMs, well, guess what? You don't have to do that, because over here we hire an appointment setter and you never even have to do DMs again on your own. So ultimately, the offer format is as follows. I help, client avatar, who's your ideal client, go from current state where they're at now to their goal result, very specific, very tangible, without doing thing they hate number 1 or thing they hate number 2, using my unique mechanism. Very important, guys. This is the foundation of your business, and this is the shit that most people don't talk about. So now we get into marketing, and here is the funnel. The digital authority funnel is what we call this. And pretty much the Instagram follower ads is going to be the biggest thing that we teach here. It's so important because that's going to guarantee leads, high quality leads driven to your Instagram page. And there's different ways, of course, to make them high quality, which I'll go over and touch on it a little bit. Also, Instagram organic definitely can work. YouTube organic definitely can book calls as well if some of you guys are into long form content. Ultimately, you drive all that traffic to your Instagram page. We have an 8-point checklist. Some of the biggest things we focus on are your bio, optimizing that, and what we call the viral metamorphosis post. If you guys want to know what that is, just go to any of our Instagram pages and you'll be able to see that for yourselves. Now, with the content, right, on that Instagram page, they're going to get short form content. They're going to see Instagram stories and, long form content as well. And you want your content to be laser targeted to that client avatar. So how I was talking about the crowded room before, if you could specifically call out the person and make them feel like, oh my gosh, that guy really understands me. He's talking exactly to me. And you're solving their problems in an actionable step-by-step way, then it's going to resonate with them so much. They're going to trust you so much more. You're going to look like such more of an authority in their eyes. So ultimately, all of this is done to drive DM conversations, as I alluded to before. Of course, after, you're doing about 10, 15,000 a month, you're going to hire an appointment setter, but those DM conversations ultimately go to booking a sales call. And then we have a sequence, which I'll touch on even more in a second, on how to pre-frame these leads so they show up to the call cash in hand, ready to buy. And then ultimately you have the sales call and close, ideally. Now, here we get into we're getting into the setting and sales portion. And it's important to understand at this point, you're going to start making more money and getting the ball rolling. So you might be in person and online hybrid at this point and starting to think, oh, I could, soon go fully online. So when would you do that? I mean, really, it's when you're comfortable. But up here, right, you're going to start to upsell all your in-person clients when you're getting ready to make the jump online. And I would give them just like an offer they can't refuse. Right there alone, if you have 20 plus clients, you could probably make 40, 50,000. We've done it with people that make $40,000 to $50,000 in, 1 to 3 days, like literally just because of upselling all their in-person clients, right? Plenty of reserves to get things to work online as well. Then eventually your online income just surpasses in person. And then, when you're comfortable, you could go fully remote. You can make the jump altogether. So let's just go through the setting and sales process and see what that looks like. The setting process, we follow a setting script. We hire a setter after 10 to 15K a month. And that's going to make it so that you never need to send a single DM again on your own if you don't want to. Pretty freaking awesome if you ask me. Now, once someone actually books in a call, we're going to do something that I coined the pre-call blitzkrieg strategy. So that's where we send a stealth VSL that pre-frames the audience on exactly everything you want them to know on the call and preemptively strikes any of the objections that they might have. We're also going to send them an optimized thank you page that has what we call, breakout videos, and it's really the biggest objections that people would have on a sales call, just drawn out into longer answers to meet those objections so you don't even get them on the call. And then blitzkrieg emails, which is just more pre-framing resources, usually pulling from your thank you page and, sending them via email. This is going to increase your show rate dramatically to the point where if the average person is getting 40 to 50% of people to show up to your calls, you could be getting 70 to 80% of people showing up to your calls. As a result, doubling your business just overnight, just by having these systems in place. And then, of course, there's the sales call. You could use the 7-figure sales script. You could always reach out to us about that. We have that in this group as well. And then ultimately closing deals, right? We are selling our packages at $3,000 to $6,000 paid in full. None of that bullshit like low ticket offers, not 100, 200 a month, not even 600, 700 a month. No, $3,000 to $6,000 paid in full. When I made my first sale, I only started at $3,000 in the beginning. That was more money that I made in that hour than I ever had in a in a single pay period as a personal trainer. So, you can imagine how eye-opening that was for me. In the same way, it might be for you, depending on your current situation. And ultimately, we're trying to maximize our cash collected because that allows us to put more money back into ads and have the funnel that we've created self-sustained. So, lastly, it's the back-end system. And this, so far, is all your front end, right? Your main offer, your marketing, your setting and sales. But you've worked so hard to get these clients. Why not keep them? Why not extract more value from them? Right? If you put $1 in on the front end and get $3 out, why wouldn't you want to get more dollars out? Right? Because when we put $1 in, instead of just getting, $3 to $5 out on the front end, by the end of a client's lifetime in our system, we're getting, $10 out from the dollar that we put in. So how do we do that? One, we do upsells. And we don't just say, hey, do you want to continue the program for 6 months? No, we give them a 1-year upsell at 15 to 20% off. We don't leave any money on the table here, right? We say, hey, we're going to give you this offer once. I'm not giving it to many clients. We have this upsell script as well that we use and have a lot of our clients follow, and it crushes. Like I am upselling my current clients right now at 60%, I'd say. I did the numbers a couple days ago, and guess what? That means that this month alone, I made $30,000 in my fitness business just from upsells alone, not from anything on the front end. So that's a quick way to double your business, or at least make a lot more. Also, referrals. You could give large incentives to referees, right? So $500 to $1,000 for someone who refers someone that signs up. Why? Because your packages are so much more higher in value, that they cost so much more money, that you could take that hit because it's all profit. You're not putting any money into ads when you're getting, referrals. So that's huge. And this is where most trainers really screw up online. And this is what separates the difference between really good personal trainers and great personal trainers online. And then lastly, it comes to hiring teams. So you'll hire a coach. You'll do that at a certain point. You'll hire a setter as well, and we talked about that, at 10 to 15K a month and ready to scale more, and a closer. So that's typically going to be at 80K plus a month, depending on your offer and depending on what you really want to do. Now, this allows you to, hiring this team out to ultimately make more money in the long run, start to run your business on autopilot, and have even more freedom in your in-person business. But realistically, for me to scale from 0 to 80K a month in my online business for fitness only, all I needed was a setter and me. It was a 2-person team. And that's what's allowed us to do that much. So I'm keeping so much profit for myself instead of hiring out this massive team. And even at scale, all you really need is a coach, maybe a couple at most, a setter, and maybe a closer in the long run. That's it. So if you use this system, guys, ultimately you will have calls on autopilot, predictable and sustainable growth, right? Just in the same way that you help your clients have sustainable fat loss, you need sustainable growth in your business. You're going to have growth without burnout, without trying to pull your hair out or wanting to jump out the window every day because it seems so freaking hard and you're doing so many inputs without much to show for it. The biggest one for me, financial, geographic, and time freedom, right? The exact opposite of what it's like to be an in-person trainer. Automated systems that run without you present, zero stress about where your next clients come from, the opportunity to work on your business and not in it, not feeling like a slave to it and an employee within your own thing, and hot leads coming to you instead of you chasing those leads. Now, guys, if you want to supercharge your business growth, if you really want to launch and go all in, if you're feeling like, this is for you and you're interested, if we might be able to help at all, then there's 2 things that you could do. One, you could book a call at the link that we'll put in the description below this video to talk with Ethan or I about, your current situation, where you're at now, where you ultimately want to go for your business. And, we could ultimately see if we could help you out. And then number 2, you could DM us client on IG. You could click our Instagram below and you could take a look at some of our content, DM us there and have a conversation about how we could best help. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.